Rod Duff, your host.
And I'm producer Barbie.
And together,
we bring you our podcast,
Insights and Straight Talk. And with that, producer Barbie and I are out. That was our trip last week down PCH. Barbie's, no, I'm just kidding. I'm in Chicago. The gentleman I'm going to introduce you to is we're all in that more cold weather area. Barbie was here with us for quite a while. She had a grandbaby. Now she's in 80, 90 degree California. God bless her. I'd like to get back there soon or someday. Anyway, this is a very exciting. As you know, this the great middle class of American and by extension the world. And my dogs are in the office. Sorry about that. That's going to happen. They seem a little heightened today, and they're loud. So anyway, we were talking back in the green room, and a lot of similarities in our background. At one point, I said, "I hope we're not going to have to arm wrestle for words." But Andrew, his mom is the CFO of a company he founded. I believe "founded" is the right word. Andrew, you can kind of correct me on that because I'm going through your stuff. 20, 30, 40 years of experience in sales and business development. That's kind of where I come back out of in the machinery side of the business. And as you know, all these subjects that we talk about are brought in by experts on those subjects and as requested by our audience. Hey, appreciate you guys jumping on, drinking your coffee like Andrew and kind of sneaking in here and having a little morning discussion with us. Appreciate it. Things really growing. I want you guys to keep giving us support, keep moving on, subscribe, like, all the things that all of folks like me ask you guys to do every day. So I'm going to take 10 seconds, do a little bit of introduction with Andrew Bolton. And what we're talking about is we're basically talking about what we love to talk about, what is critical to talk about, AI, automation for people that, well, I always said that are like me, that are older, because I remember back in the days when the internet first came in. I'm sure most everybody here does. And that entire older aging Americans, the golden years, that kind of thing, they were completely separated by society, not on purpose. They just didn't understand it. I mean, it was hard enough for us kids that were in that age at that time. There was some transition. Some all of a sudden fax machines came out, and then you had dial-up internet, and then you had real internet, today's internet. Now coming up is Internet 3.0, crypto. There's all sorts of things happening. What Andy and his mom, and it's a family-owned business, so he and I only talked about his mom and him. So we'll expand on that a little bit. But what they're doing is they're like we talk about. I mean, I was excited when I saw that because it's about being a technical aid, human support, especially for small businesses and elderly people, because my bank watches this show. And when I go, I've made some friends, with them, and I was talking to one of the tellers, a guy about 20 something, and he had just seen one of the tech shows, and he says, "Oh man, I'm getting into that chat GPT, and my mom's trying to figure some stuff out, but it just drives me crazy." That's hard to teach, especially your parents, something that to you is a language you understand. To them is German, if they're English. If they're German, then that point didn't make any sense. But it just shows to go how important stuff like what Andy's doing here. And so without any further ado, I want to bring in, look at that guy, man. He's he was a wrestler, by the way. That's how we got into his mom.
Yeah, a couple of college.
Hey. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, she paid for the first one. She goes, you get another one that's on you. So I started wearing my headgear. I used to not wear headgear until like I had a mushroom, and then she she got that one taken care of, and she goes, the next one's on you. They're like $300 to like get rid of. They're not.
Are you serious?
Yeah, they're like $300 at a doctor's office.
Well, they got to go in there and cut out literally cartilage.
So
right?
what they do is if it's still gelatin, what they'll do is they'll slice it open, drain it, and then stitch it with cotton, so it constantly drains out. So that's always
I gotcha.
And it's not fun picking up chicks when you have like a cotton ball soaked in blood and yellow.
And it's continually draining.
Oh yeah, it's just continually draining. That's just every girl loves that look.
Yeah, puts out the mood a little bit. Kind of changes the direction. So growing up, we're getting into here with your background and moving that into tech and what we were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But as we were talking about in the green room, that I like to kind of, what was the journey? You don't have to go from birth unless you want to the point where you got on that next point. You know, what drove you there to get there and then to build off of there?
So,
you know what I mean?
So TechRescue, for your audience, is a 24-hour customer support helpline. So we're open 24 hours a day. Christmas, Super Bowl, World Cup, the Olympics, we're open. So if you ever call your bank, your insurance company, press 1 for English, 2 for Spanish. Please wait for the next available agent. You got the robotic, the chat bot on the bottom hand corner that you want to get somebody on the phone just to help you, and then they point you to a library. No, none of that crap. We don't have a library. We don't have a YouTube library database on how to. No, if you call us up,
I hate that.
We're going to help you. We're right then and there. If you can get to us, we can get to you. So as long as you have.
So how does that work? When you're setting that up? Is this like a program? Is this like the company is called and then you handle case by case? How is that relationship built? What's it look like?
So we use third party access points to a computer, tablet, or phone. So you call us up, you're a customer. We send you an encrypted link. You click on that link. Now we have a bridge, if you will, to your computer. So now you get to sit back, relax, have a cup of coffee, go to the bathroom, go get yourself some popcorn, and you tell us that you can't find your file. We'll find your file. You can't connect your router. We'll connect your router. You can't connect your Bluetooth to your TV. And surprisingly, over the past 4 months, what we've noticed is an inbound of calls on dating apps and video games. So seniors, 65 and older, are engaging in purchasing more video games and more online web time than they have been ever. And because of the culture that we're in, we're getting some interesting dating questions on Tinder and Bumble and WhatsApp. And we have an age
dating on WhatsApp.
So for many, for those who know,
I know that big time. I use it all the time, but
so on WhatsApp, what you're able to do is you're able to send a video or a picture with a one-time view. Now, for any of your audiences who know this game, you can obviously imagine the implementation that you can have with this.
Yeah.
So I'd say it was about 3 months ago. I handle anything that my team doesn't have. So I have a crew of 67 employees around the country for sales, marketing, PR, and our call center, which is 24 hours.
Wow.
I received a phone call that one of our clients had a specific question, and it got escalated to a project manager who escalated it to me, saying, I think he's asking what I think he's asking. I'm just not going to ask him. So I said, send me his contact information, send me the account, and I'll take care of it. So I looked into it and I listened to the call. Now, mind you, only a few minutes had gone by, and this was a very interesting call. So we said, mind you if we call you back? Like, we just need to, get the proper people on the phone for this. So I call him up, and I ask him, a little bit more background context for the information, and he had met somebody on Tinder. Now, if anybody wants to get a laugh, you can all imagine the state that he's located in, Florida. So we're already going. For any of you audiences, we already know where this is going. So I said, all right, I see that you would like to be able to use this feature of WhatsApp. It's a very convenient feature. It's encrypted. Nobody else can see it except that one person that you're sending this to. And it's a one-time view. So once you view it, you can't view it ever again. So I sent him the link. We get up. I said, now, mind you, you can use your computer, your tablet, or your phone for WhatsApp. So I said, for purposes, let's just use the computer. Because for honestly, I didn't want to see what was on a phone. Because a phone is a lot more personable than your desktop.
Oh, it is, yes.
So gaining access to the desktop, I saw a picture of his dog. I said, all right, for the example that we're going to do, we're going to send a picture of your dog to, let's say, yourself. Because you can send a message directly to yourself to test it. Mind you, I highly recommend test firing before you send ammunition downrange.
That's a very good piece of advice. That is a really good piece of advice.
Practice targeting. You don't want to send a picture of a dog to your coworkers.
Yeah, that didn't seem like that'd work out too well.
We're not responsible for misfires. That's you. We can teach you how to load it, how you fire it and shoot it. That's you. We're not responsible for that. Just saying right now. So anyway, we sent a picture of him. We sent a picture of his dog to himself, and he said, "Okay." And I said, "This goes for files, music, videos, and pictures." And we had our conversation context wise, and I said, "All right, well, if there's anything else we can do for you, please directly shoot me an email." I sent him my direct email because, well, obviously this is not something for my staff to handle. I'll handle this one. But
the reason it kept getting pushed up, huh? It was like
the reason why I kept getting pushed up the line.
I don't want to do that.
But what got me was the gentleman was 73.
Wow. That's good. That's a pleasurable health age.
So when we looked into it, what we noticed was 78% of seniors have smart technology. They have smartwatches, they have smartphones, they're engaging in online communities, in Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. They're much more active. They make up 20% of the GDP from last holiday season in purchasing power. They're active, they're mobile, they have financial access, and they're a lot more engaging with society. So they're traveling more, they're engaging with each other more. And what we found was a lot of grandparents or senior citizens, what they're doing is they're not engaging with their families in the normal way. What they're doing is they're buying video games and getting online. So we've gotten calls about Star Wars, The Old Republic, Fortnite, Call of Duty, Minecraft. We're helping seniors set up skins, access cheat codes. We're getting calls scattered throughout. It's not just, my Bluetooth or the wireless. Yes, we do get, the hearing aids are connected to my phone. How do I get this to work? We get those. But what we're seeing is we're seeing a steady increase. I'd say about around 1% increase month over month on what I would consider outside scope work. So we're seeing it really increase, so much so that about a month and a half ago, I hired one of my close associates that I know who's a video game nut. He has every video game known to man. He's a collector, so he knows these games. So he is now writing the standard operating procedures for all video game questions that we have coming in, including Halo, which is becoming extremely big because the anniversary edition is coming in.
I love Halo.
And we're starting to see calls in the mid 50s to early 60s on Grand Theft Auto, believe it or not.
Really?
Yeah.
That one shocks me a little bit just because of is it still the same as it used to be 10 years ago? And
no,
what they're talking
about. So one of the early questions that we've been getting is, how can I advertise on Grand Theft Auto? People are already planning on developing businesses on this open AI platform.
No doubt.
And I have to be honest with them. I said, I have no information whatsoever on this game. That is kept lockstep. That's top secret. Nobody has
new one coming out, you mean? The rollout of the net. Okay, gotcha.
That is completely top secret. Nobody has any information on this. I mean, they are really keeping their lips closed on it.
That's wild, man. So
But
this
it's
is a
not
whole
just
new
kids,
thing.
it's not kids.
Is it also, let me ask you this. You know how Meta, kind of evolved from, that, and the concept is to build entire digital communities and worlds that people live in, right? You check out and go in and have relationships, buy food. Is it kind of that, you think?
Yes and no. Where Zuckerberg thinks that the whole world is just going to go full Matrix is not going to happen, because my business would not exist if that was the case. Yeah. So what we have discovered is no matter how advanced we advance in technology. So for reference for your audience, because of AI and the fact that AI is improving, is that for every year, AI has increased technology's capability by about 5 years. So you are correct. We are on 3.0 to 3.5 of the internet that we have right now. And by 2036, quantum computers will be of commercial use. So what quantum computers are basically they're hyper super fast computers that need very cold space, much like data centers, but even more stable, because the computers are running at such a high capacity using lithium and using like new cobalt chips that burn at a much hotter rate for the graphic industry because of that laser. That laser is becoming much more powerful. Quantum computers are going to be the future, and what AI can do on a quantum computer makes ChatGPT look like a baby's rattle.
Wow.
Because think about it. Because an AI is basically a 2x2 matrix that has a yes or no question to it. All right, a 1 and a 0. That's all it is. But where AI gets complicated is the bridge out in the expansion of the questions that the AI can work through. All it is just the 2x2 matrix. But what would happen was if data had no barriers. Think of it this way. We know that Wall Street is somewhat rigged, right? So the reason why all the banks are so in proximity to the New York Stock Exchange is the relay time between
milliseconds.
Now think about in terms of quadroseconds.
Yep, I know exactly what you're talking about. There's
quadroseconds.
Yeah.
So we're talking about trading that could take place faster than a Bloomberg terminal, and it's already bought and sold before Bloomberg even knew what happened. Because data directly from a source with no barriers,
it's faster.
Whatever you want to
faster.
What could you program? What could you establish? What could you go and build with no restrictions whatsoever on data and information? Pulling the world's data in 1 single nanosecond. What could you accomplish?
That next level. I mean, that's that level that changes the world, right? I mean, technology is moving in that direction now. And before we get too far behind here, I want to throw a question in also. But technology is moving, and like you said, faster and faster and faster and faster. And that whole stock exchange thing is like two technologies trying, battling to keep their gates safe so that you don't get an advantage. Like what you just said. Really, that's a real thing.
So when we talk about Wall Street and we talk about what stock trading is, the difference is all the information is out there, right? Everything that we know is out there. The difference between the funds and the average consumer or the average investor is the time in which they gather information. That's it. That's the difference. Because all you're doing is you're saying that this is more valuable in the future versus now, or this is lower in value than what it is now. That's all we're saying. That's all it is. So where you get that information to confirm or deny your hypothesis is the battle. And in quantum computers, which will be within the next 10 years, we are going to be looking at things that I don't even know, which is where our seniors get left behind, because our seniors are dealing with technology that's mid 2015s. That's where they're most comfortable right now. So the idea of chat and AI and all these other things just blows right past them. Yes. Are there some outliers that we see? Of course there are. On a standard deviational curve, of course there's outliers. But the grand scheme of it, I'd say about 80% of our seniors 65 and older do not feel comfortable with modern technology, and it's only getting faster and more complicated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it is. And, you talk about the quantum computers being able to gather, you don't even know what kind of information on something or somebody or a stock. Taking it to the industrial world versus the financial world, you can right now, and I do this for the show, I have several automations. One of them goes out to, well, you could really go deeper if you wanted to, but all public information, about your business, about you, what your last posts online were. And it's just gathering information so you can make decisions, like you going out making a sales call, right? And you want to know where the pain points are of that company. I mean, people today can use this technology with people like you making that support, because their kids are going to try for a while. And, I've got one that's 40, not quite 40, 39. And he started me on this role on a little over a year ago, my granddaughter, one of them, were born. And during that time, he's like, hey, check this out. Cause I always ask him questions. He's got a podcast too called Be Money. And so he started telling me, and then all of a sudden I'm like popping, right? And I'm asking questions all the time. He's like, all right, here's what we're going to do, Dad. I'm going to set something up and I'm going to break something in it. Don't call me until you know what that is, and I'll help you work through and do it. So it's hard to teach people, but when you have a service like this, then there's an outlet, because going to your family after a while is like, I don't want to bug them again. Same question. I don't remember.
So our marketing,
Right.
So our marketing strategy is, we have two prongs. So we have our target consumer and we have our end user. You would be a perfect end user. You are curious, you're going to call, you're engaged, and your son is our target demographic that we would market to, because for every minute that he's helping you, he's taking away from his day. So we allow our consumer at $50 a month to $400. So we have two platforms. We have $50 a month and we have the $400 a year policy. And you can call as much as you want for as long as you want.
Like every day you could call?
Yeah.
Every day?
Yeah.
Okay. For how much? $400 a year?
$400 a year. You save 30%.
Yeah. Damn. Okay.
Because we've gotten it good enough where we can get the project done quickly. It's all about a matter of timing. Now, we're not trying to get you off the phone, right? We don't want to do that. But if you're calling us,
lights on, though.
Yeah, we have our metrics that we utilize, and
sure.
What we have found is that when people call, they're all hot calls. So inside our standard operating procedure on the second page behind the cover sheet is every call is somebody's most important person. It's in big red letters.
Yep.
Now, you made slight mention of this, and this is one of my in my business. This is one of my main concerns right now that I have for my business is we deal with hot calls. That's all we deal with. So if you're calling,
emergencies,
you're frustrated, you're cranky, you're confused, you're bewildered, you're agitated, or you're just in a disarray, there's really no nice call that we get. So the type of quality candidates that we have to do interviews, to be on our team, they have to have a certain type of temperament. I can deal with sales guys.
Okay.
I can deal with sales guys, and we can put salespeople to work. But what makes our secret sauce so good is that when you're calling, we're not really helping you. We're calming you down, because when you're frustrated, everything's a little bit bigger, right? The problem's always a lot worse than it really is. And what we found is it is. So when we get you to calm down and we walk through the steps, we get it done within no less than maybe 30, 40 minutes at the max. Yes, we've had some wild ones where we go off on tangents, but those are outliers. So the problem that we're having right now for our company is we can't grow fast enough, because the type of caliber person that we need to be able to handle your wife or your mother or your father or, your aunt, your uncle, the person that really matters to you, that you sign this person up for, the generational classes from 2021 2020, 2021, the ones that came out of college, the ones that went through high school into college through COVID-19 are absolutely useless to me.
100%. They're useless to everybody.
I-
I mean, that's a lost generation. Or lost.
I believe it or not, I wrote to my congressman, Josh Gottheimer, and I said, you need to advocate for Congress to send these kids back to school.
Something. Yeah, absolutely.
And
they came out of that and were in COVID, so they didn't have to go to work.
They never went.
It just kept building on it. They're lost.
Well, I got a couple of resumes because we need to, because of the summer months and I was looking for SAT scores, ACT scores. They're not applicable, but I'm just looking because I was curious. I would say almost a third of these kids don't have SAT scores, ACT scores. They got pushed through the one record.
Why they didn't?
So we asked.
It's not a requirement anymore.
No. So we asked. So there were two resumes that stuck out that just didn't feel right. So we reached out to the high school. I had my secretary reach out to the high school. The final two quarters of these two individuals' high school exam, there was a line through their classes. You know how you have the check, you have the check box?
Yeah.
There were lines through it.
Canceled, in other words, right?
Graduated accepted.
Oh my God.
I'm not kidding.
6 months before the school year, or no, probably 4 months before the last quarter, right? 4 months before the
same state, two different districts. Same state, two different districts. I would say about 800 miles apart from each other. Same exact thing.
Scary. That's scary. And how many other places does it or did it happen that you just?
I haven't looked, but we haven't accepted any.
Haven't even...
After we started looking in October of last year. We put a pause on it in December because of the holidays. Then we opened it back up in February, and I said shut it down. I said shut it down in middle of April because I said I don't want to see anybody from 20 to 25.
Yeah.
The resumes that I'm collecting are from the class resumes of 2007, 2014 to 2018, and then I'm not touching anything for another 3 years.
Hey, that's a lot. It's a lot of generation.
Well, here's my question. So, is your mother still alive, or your father?
No.
All right.
I'm just under your elderly age. My birthday's next month.
All right. So my father is 78, my mother is 73, and she's the CFO. If I had somebody talk to, because we have a 3rd-tier process. I don't do this 9 steps interview. You get an email, we do a background check, we have a phone call, and then I throw you into the hot seat. We'll throw you in the hot seat. And what I heard some of these people talk to on the 3rd interview, I would not let them talk to my mother without, and I'm an old school kid. If anybody talked to my mother like that, they would have gotten smacked.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is our business model. Like we like, this is the pillar of our business. We are that helpline. We are there for when you are not okay. You're having a panic attack. It's 2:00 in the morning because you own a bagel shop. You own a bagel shop. Your doors open at 5. You're in the shop at 3. The ovens and the boiler is starting, and you can't get your system to recheck. You can't get your payment system to operational. Your server's down. But guess what? You have over 5 cases of flour to get moving.
Wow. Yeah.
TikTok. You're the first one in the door. What are you going to do? Which is a priority? TikTok.
That is literally in part of your talk. It talks about changing the impact of how business is being done. What you're talking about right now, yes, it's all that frustrating. You got this angry energy going on, but from my own experience, and I'm sure feeding into that same thing you said, it's also, there's a point where you just go around in a circle because you're missing something, and you for like hours, and it's like you this is impossible. How is this work? And that's where frustration goes, because now you're spending time on something you can't see that it's going to work out. And that's kind of scary. In that business, what you're talking about there, that's a whole nother level. And with there's AI and then there's OI, right? Businesses are automating for their whole plant systems, their maintenance, all those operations, those time scales. That's all coming in, and we're still afraid of a chat GPT, like you said, or anything a little bit more complex. Your service is dynamic. Let me just add one question in there. What's the biggest challenge when supporting seniors in tech? Because I think you were going to get into that again, right?
So when we're supporting seniors, we're really not supporting their technology needs. We're dealing more with their emotional needs, because really at the end of the day, what they're really looking for is the connectivity, because they want to get on a conference call with their grandchildren on the other side of the planet, right? Because they're going to bed just in time as dinner ended here in the States. So they get to, give their grandchildren a bedtime story. To us, that's a nothing. Like that's a no issue. But to somebody that is like, if your grandparents are in India and you're a first generation American and you have grandchildren, they can't come over here because it's an expensive flight. But every night they read their grandchildren a bedtime story from India because the times just so happen to lap up. To them, that is the most important hour of their day. And they can't get it to work. And bedtime's coming up because they know that within half an hour, bath time is over, right? The teeth are brushed because I have this routine down, and that heart rate is going, I need to get in touch. I need to get in touch. I need to get in touch. And they can't get it. It's not working. It's not connecting. That's where we come in. It's okay. We got you. We'll fix this. Yeah. But to answer that question in terms of AI, let's dispel this myth. All right. This argument has been going on for the longest time. When the TI-83 calculator came out when we were in high school, we figured out a way to put all of our answers into the chapters. And guess what? We had the answers to all the tests. When we learned to take our tablets and our laptops into college class, we were playing video games and we were figuring out how to do it as easy as possible. You can think whatever you want about Elon Musk and his politics, but the one thing I did love about him was saying that he loves lazy employees, because lazy employees will find the easiest way to get the job done with the least amount of effort. That's Lean Six Sigma in actual human form.
Oh my God, my dad told me the same thing when I was a kid. That's so wild.
That's Lean Six Sigma. As a business owner, turn your brain off. They figured out what you're doing and went, why are you doing it? So why are you doing it like that? I could get it done in 5 minutes and chill out for another half hour. That's optimization. That's what AI does. Yeah. So where we need to have the question is, how do we, because the genie's out of the bottle. It's never going back. It's done. It's like nuclear power.
Absolutely. Right? Yeah.
It's like nuclear power. We have it. So now what do we do? You start building a educational system when we know that this thing is going to be here. So we know that AI is going to be on computers. All right. So instead of in the classroom, turn off your computer, stuff like that. Why don't you start asking questions that makes the kid read through the AI answer, and why does it answer that way? What can you expand on this? All right. So ask a question. Well, here's the answer. Well, what could you do with that? Well, what do you mean? You have the answer. What can you do with the answer? That's a new question. ChatGPT can't give you that because it can't program itself for your creativity, right?
Right. You have to ask it questions. In order for ChatGPT to work, that it learns from the questions you're asking, right? And evolve. Every time I work on something, we'll do something, you know what I mean? And then here's the next step. And then it says, would you like me to do this or that? And then the way you answer things, like you said, it's not creative. It's just data.
So let's say we're in high school, right? Or let's say middle school. You're a teacher, you're standing in the classroom, you've got 30 kids, right? You may know their names, but how do you know their education style? What's their learning process? How do each and every single one of these kids learn? You as an adult, just as one person, you cannot be expected to tailor a lesson plan for each and every single one of these kids. You're going to miss one. You're going to. So guess what? Why not let ChatGPT do the heavy lifting for you? Teach the subject as a baseline. Then for your homework, you can create a program list based off of ChatGPT for these kids and how each and every one of them learns.
Yeah.
Your homework assignment for the week is to create a lesson plan that works best for you on these subject matters. Here's the screenshot or the Word document that's going into ChatGPT. Your task for the week is to figure out how ChatGPT can help you learn this information for a pop quiz on Monday.
That's the new educational. That what you just described should be in the system now as a operational. I wonder if that's why they're, the educate. You talked about politics. We're gonna, whatever you think about it. The administration's also going through all these things to upgrade the airline technology, all the technologies that are from like the 50s, that when this stuff comes, it's going to burn it out. There's no way our systems can handle it. And I'm wondering, they're tearing down the educational system, not teachers union, but you know what I mean? And rebuilding that, hopefully in the way you're alluding to there.
So the issue that, see, there's some pros and cons to the whole Doge and Trump administrations.
Always will be.
I guess their implementation of optimization is what they're looking to do. The problem that we have, and it's a little bit of self-fulfilling prophecy, and it's our own fault as a nation. We do need to optimize. I am not disagreeing with that whatsoever. We're running systems that are basically on Microsoft 98, Office 98.
Maybe, yeah.
The problem that we're having, and this is where Elon got it wrong, is that you cannot go to the basement, open up the fuse box, and just start turning off all the switches, because these switches go back to the foundings of our country. They also go back to the installation of the industrial complex that was built in the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, the 60s. I mean, we got through the Depression because of World War II, and also Roosevelt put people to work on the national parks. So we're doing things that date back to almost 1937. That was the building blocks of our foundation. So now we're just turning off the switches and like, oh, that's what that does. That's what that does. There's a reason why when the house goes out of power, you go downstairs with the flashlight and you turn one switch on and off at a time, because you don't know what goes to what. And if anybody out there can tell me, well, we know where everything is, really? We know where everything goes to what and who works. We're finding out things about our Constitution, about our country, about our government that we didn't even have a clue was going on.
Yeah.
Because people just lost, like, all of a sudden the lights went off and like, oh, wait, that's who runs the nuclear power in this country? That's who's running the Department of Education? Those are the people that are running the parks and Yellowstone, Yosemite? You can't turn... I know what they're doing, and I'm not disagreeing with it, but you can't turn off all the power and the house is full of people. You can't. Yeah. You're gonna create some turbulence, which we have right now.
Yeah, we've had turbulence for a long time, actually. What I'd like to see is, if we're going to stay on the political discussion, it's about not necessarily what one party's direction or another, because that's kind of changing, but each individual person, we need to start really paying attention to that, because like you're saying, all this stuff is coming on, they're shutting off, all the lights. That may or may not be, at the end of the day, the right or wrong thing to do, and next time they should be voted out, or but we don't pay attention to that. We just vote down one side or vote down another. That's what started this here. What do you think about telemedicine transforming how do you see that transforming in the next 5 years?
Telemedicine is going to be the way that we go in the future. So
Yeah.
one of the services that we've been slowly working on and building is, because we're HIPAA compliant, 14% of our nation's seniors. So officially it's 75 due to the census, but because of undocumented immigrants and undocumented workers for the past 50 years that we've all known existed, we would say that it's somewhere in the neighborhood of about 85 to about 92 million seniors over 65 and older. 14% of those populations do not have access to any medical assistance whatsoever. That's visiting St. Mary's, that's Meals on Wheels, that's telemedicine. So what we're trying
to do, they're located, because of where they're located, is that what
no, it's just because they don't have anybody around. They don't have the ability to get in touch with with somebody to help them with technology. They could be senior. They could be, if you're 75 and you've never married and you don't have any children or grandchildren, who's watching out for you?
Geez. Yeah, no, yeah, that's.
We have a population of almost 14 to 20% of our people that are completely out in the water, not getting anything. So with TechRescue, you can sign up because we're HIPAA compliant. We can go on to your Medicare, whether that's VA, veterans, or whether it's your union or it's private insurance or Medicare, Medicaid. Find you your doctor, set up that information, sign you up for Uber, which is nothing more than your credit card, telephone, email address, and your location. We can set that up for you. We can schedule a doctor's visit, set you up an Uber visit, have you picked up, dropped off, and then gone. And to answer the other aspect of that question is, within 2030, we've heard rumors. We're trying to find out whether they're absolutely true or not, but Garmin and Apple are coming out with watches that have supposedly a microscopic needle that'll do small abrasions on your skin that'll be able to read your glucose and blood sugar levels in real time. That information can be relayed to your doctor and to your medical information, so you can get up-to-date information in real time. Maybe you're having a stroke. Maybe you're about 3. Maybe your glucose is a little too high than it's been over the past couple of 6 months. This information will be completely streamlined throughout. Now, that's a double-edged sword, some would say. You know, they're doing more monitorization of the people. But I'll be honest with you. I've seen a heart attack in line at a McDonald's, and it's scary. And if I can prevent that from happening, yeah, I'm cool with that.
I've had one. I've had a stroke. And I don't remember it, but I was by my pool and somebody was right there, fortunately, and I popped down. And talking about what you're talking about, that's kind of already here. I mean, not to that quite extent, but I mean, I can check my heart rate all the time. Mm-hmm. How accurate it is. It's called.
It'll get better.
And it's only getting better year by year. It's crazy. This is interesting because I had a VPN for the office, so you can log in anywhere and, be on your server. Is this the same thing as the old firewall? No, it bypasses the firewall.
It would bypass the firewall.
Yeah. So this is a direct line that's nobody else can see into. It's kind of like WhatsApp for just us. My server.
It would be directly to the email. So if you're a customer, you would provide us the email, telephone number that either for yourself, your business, or your loved one. Then we would then send the email to them. And you would also, on the form, there's special instructions. Mom has a hard time of hearing. Mom only speaks Portuguese. Mom only speaks, Farsi. Well, once we have that information, we can adjust to anything. So our call center is in the Carolinas. They have something like over 500 people, and they're constantly always growing. So we can get any language easily within half a day, somebody who speaks that language. So we can actually get through to most people. It's where we have the hard part is the quality of people. That's always our hard part.
How do you think that's going to go over the next, hold your company now? Just
we're about 2.5 years. And,
2.5 years.
So
10 years from now, what do you think all that's going to look like? I know there's challenges and you have to be able to maneuver with it. I mean, even to the point where somebody's speaking Farsi on your phone, you can translate.
Yes, but there will always be. So I actually got this one question, is that if you're looking to do defragmentation or you're looking to do complex systems, you don't need us. We're not your people. you have in-house type of tech work that you don't need us. We're mostly on the convenience side. We're there to buy back your time. That's basically what our main goal is. Where we see the future is, believe it or not, there's going to be one or two paths. And path A is that eventually we all get tired of the chatbots, right? So we'll go back to human connectivity. So when we talk about optimization and running companies more optimally, yes, standard operating procedures might be done by chatbots. Deprogramming and reprogramming and connect work may be done through an AI system. But when we're doing direct it'll always be with a person, because that's where we always feel most comfortable, is direct connectivity to a person. The other channel that we might go through, and this is where we're going to see how in the next maybe 2-3 years how AI really advances, is that my big fear is that the human experience will become a premium experience.
Oh, wow. That's kind of scary.
Well, if you think about it, right?
Yeah.
If you think about where Elon wants to go, right? And a lot of businesses follow Elon. He's looking to be the most optimized Jeff Bezos type Amazon platform, but for technology, right? So if we could get rid of human workers on the human side of it, picking up boxes and remedial work, if we could figure out how to do that, we would, because that's optimization. But where that could lead us to is that when you want to have a human experience with business, that's a premium feature.
Yeah.
What's to stop? Think of it this way. What's to stop you? All right, if we take the car industry, for example, right? We all know what cars we like. We all know what cars we want. Carvana has already done it in a way. You can go with your coin, put it in the coin slot, and you can watch your car come down, and there you go. You could go to Mercedes. What happens if Mercedes decides that we all know what our Mercedes client wants? They know exactly what they want. They'll show up. They get their thumbprint done. Oh, you're a previous client. You can browse around. We have a little test track that you can take whatever car you want and you go through. But if you would like to have a human concierge service where we sit down, talk about what you like, what you don't like, what you want for your car, don't have your car, you kind of have to be a premium member. You have to take a Ferrari type of methodology, right? You can't buy a new Ferrari unless you've bought previous Ferraris, right? They don't even allow you to sit down and talk to somebody. Well, Ferrari keeps selling cars, even though they kind of insult you to your face. Like, you need to be up here in order to talk to us. So you have people keep trying to climb the stairs. Yes, you have outliers who say, I'll never own a Ferrari for that. Okay, that's fine. You won't own our product. But for the people who want our product, they'll keep going down the line. They'll do exactly what they tell them to do because you want our product. Well, who's to say that doesn't transfer over to everything else? We have self-checkout lines. We have self-checkout lines at the grocery store. What if the grocery store were to say, you know what? For the self-checkout lines, the price is the same. But if you want concierge service, we'll scan it for you, bag it for you, put it in your cart. It's 10 cents extra on everything you buy.
I think it'll go different. There's another possibility. You know those chips that know where everything is?
Yeah.
They're already working on this where you put your stuff in your grocery store. And
it totals up.
Totals up, charges you, and you're out. Now the bagging part is interesting. I haven't even thought about that, but when you said that, because I hate that part.
You hate bagging, right? You hate bagging.
I don't. I do it if you have to, but
you do it if you have to. You do it if you have to. So let's say the holiday seasons are coming up, right? Thanksgiving is crazy, right? You have your basket full on top. You got to get all the way to the front. And now, guess what? You put your cart in, you start unloading it, and guess what? You hope you have your son or your grandson or whatever to go to the front of the line as she's scanning them down. You're the one. I've done it with my mother and grandmother, God knows how many times over the years. I'm the bagger, right? Well, I don't want to bag anymore. So for 10 cents extra on every item I pay, I just get to kick back, relax, and I'll let a kid bag it. I'll let the girl scan it and put it back in my cart, and off I go.
Yeah.
You're going to pay more for the human experience.
Yeah. No, and I don't doubt that. I mean, and the whole human experience is going to change too. I mean, you were leaning into work here, and we got to get caught up on some of these questions here. Hey, you don't have a hard stop, do you?
Nope.
Okay, you're fine.
I gave you the afternoon.
All right, you got it. We're gonna go well past an hour, that's for sure. Hey, Bradley, some of these people I know because they're on here all the time. But getting back to this VPN thing, we touched on it. Ronaldo's a really good friend. She's a very smart person. And so we said it's not. It can get around a firewall, but explain the VPN process or what that does. A little bit more, just a little bit more, because we did touch on it.
So a VPN is a digital tuner. So like
virtual private network, right?
So this was really, really popular in the COVID period, right? So I'm not gonna rat on anybody, but I knew a few people that were working, and you could buy a VPN on Amazon or eBay. It'll cost you like maybe $250. You get two sets of them, one at your home office and one wherever you're going. Those two connect, and that connects to your computer. And the one at home is your base model, and the one wherever you are is your receiver. So what you're doing is wherever you are, you're connected to your home model, and that's sending the signal to your receiver. So you could be on the beach in Barbados, but technically you're in your office in Chicago. And when you clock in, you just make sure that you have a green screen behind you, and don't mind the sound. Just don't mind the sound of the ocean and the kids playing. That's just my background YouTube. My background YouTube noise.
That's right, man.
So
nice background noise.
Don't worry about it. It's just YouTube. It's just YouTube in the background. I just have it to distract myself. So with that, it doesn't play too much of a factor for us as long as because when you accept that link from us, the encrypted link, you're allowing us into the system. You're allowing us into your wall. So we already are now connected. Well, what we do is whatever you need us to do up to a point. If we're redoing a relay line, that's not what we do, because that's not our client base. But if you're connecting to us because you're, let's say, traveling and you're connected to your VP network at home, but you have a weekend house in, like, let's say, I don't know, Mexico or down in the Bahamas. A lot of New Yorkers do. You have a problem connecting back to your home office. That we can help you with. Because what we need to do is then connect directly to your home office network and reestablish that connection to where you are. And it could be that your original router is down. That could be an issue. So if you lose power, that could be something that goes on. There's a lot of things that can play into it.
I just had that happen to me. There was an electrical storm, and took out the router, sent a thing down, and basically corrupted my whole server. I had to have an IT guy come out and, rebuild it. And we did that. And I'm putting everything in the cloud.
The cloud is
at least right now it's safer or more stable. Who knows? If the satellites all go, I don't know. But right now, that's the thing to do. That old server thing just isn't the thing anymore.
If you're running a business off of VPN and across multiple platforms, then I would say, one, have a secure cloud, and two, back it up every day at 2 a.m. Run your backup when you're asleep and the office is closed. That way, you're not interfering with your day-to-day. And just have it backed up every day. That would be my only suggestion.
And if something crashes, you can go back to yesterday and bring that back in.
Yeah.
And that's the value. Your whole business. There was a contractor for aerospace or the military or something, and they made parts. And somebody went in and corrupted that thing, shut them down, and they couldn't make anything because everything was automated. So anything they were trying to do, none of the bills would, none of the prints, none of the bills.
So another problem with AI is once it goes down, it goes down.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So
small business. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Small business can adopt technology based off of what it is that you do. All right. So let's say you own an Ace Hardware store. If you own an Ace Hardware store, you have inventory. Your inventory is probably your biggest liability and your biggest asset. So you can create your scan system, right, which you have as a retail store. That can be brought into, let's say, a Chat GDP or a Deep Dive, which is the Chinese equivalent. you can take a look and see what products are selling the most of and what products are selling the least of. And then you can create a new budgetary purchasing plan based off of what items are selling more. You can reprice it. You can do price comparison across your entire market segment, whether that's state, local, district-wise, region-wise. You can use that as competitive analysis to every single competitor that you have. We have an Ace Hardware store very close to Home Depot. Now, what makes them so successful is you don't have to get on the highway to go to Home Depot. You can just go into town and get an Ace. Now, are they a little bit more expensive? Yeah, by about 35, 60 cents on the dollar. But to not have to get over the highway and go all the way looped around to go to Home Depot saves me on average about 15, 17 minutes. That's a difference. So that's a competitive advantage.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
absolutely.
that's small.
What you were, okay, let's go back a little bit and then your point.
Yeah.
When you said that you can take an inventory, like, is it like you would bring that into an Excel and then dump it into a chat?
You can do an Excel. You can do
it?
so you can basically you can save
like Airtable or something.
You can save that entire list on a PDF. You can save it as an Excel, or if it's on a Google Drive, it has the ability to read a Google Drive. So you can basically upload up to 10 files on a ChatGPT software system. You can upload up to 10 files and do an analysis. And you can say, review all of my sales for the past 3 quarters and find me where we're failing. Find out. You can also do scheduling. Who is the most work? You can do scheduling reevaluations. Who's working the most? Who's incorporating the most? Which one of my salespeople actually contributes the most to my bottom line? Who's wasting the most time in the office? You can use this thing to do whatever you want. You can ask it. The only limitation it has is your creativity. That's it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And speaking of creativity, you get better at that. That's one thing I've kind of learned is as I'm asking questions, I can't be lazy about my question because the better the question is pointed, the better the response is, and then you can build from there. So you got to be better still.
Well, because it stimulates your creativity because you're getting answers.
Yeah, it does.
Think of it this way. If you were in school, when we were all in school, the teacher only knew so much, right? And we would always eventually get to the end of where their knowledge was.
Yeah.
There is no end.
Yeah,
there's no end. It just keeps going. So you get to sit there and ask the most wild out questions. What is the subatomic weight of a dwarf star compared to Earth? Boom, there's your answer. What is the largest black hole and what is its size comparison to the Milky Way galaxy? Boom, there's your answer. What you're limited by your own imagination.
It's funny when you say that because I've started doing reports. Pulling reports in on, and I ask it, okay, so Insights and Straight Talk, we have this many subscribers, we're growing at this point. These are our subject matters. Who compares to us and how do we rate against those people in the algorithm, the data that how do we rank? You're 12% higher than the average, or you're 3% less than John and Susie's Gotta Talk a Lot podcast. That's the kind of thing you talked about the stars, and that's fascinating. That's entertaining. You can do everything to make your life.
So if I was to do I would do an entire scrape list of your entire subscriber list. What is the age demographic? What is the sex demographic? What is the occupation and where are they located? I would find out where your heat index is. And then from that information, I would then outsource that to a marketing team, hand them that information and say, we want to expand in this, and this market. And we want to solidify this market. And we want to really hone in on this demographic. Create an entire marketing campaign for these areas in this demographic, in this section, to then go after them. And to answer that question, what's the most things that people misunderstood with seniors in technology is that they're stupid about it. They're not stupid. They're actually quite.
Yeah, okay. I was trying to catch up to you there for a second. Okay, that was a good twist. You got me.
seniors have plenty of time to learn and study it. What they get confused on, where we see that seniors get confused on, is just the scale and mass of it all, right? So if you look at an iPhone 16 now, there is more on it than anybody can really do with it, unless you're like a 13-year-old with ADHD that can have 17 apps flying at the same time.
Yeah.
We're talking, and this is the fun part, we're talking about a demographic and a group that is very set in their ways on things, but they're open to trying new stuff as long as it fits within this certain parameter, which is fine, which is absolutely acceptable. They like the idea of endless technology, and where they're having the most trouble is trying to figure out, where does it fit in my rigid schedule in life? That's where we kind of have the issues with it. And that's where we kind of help them fit technology into their lives, is like, where can we find those spots that they can incorporate it and get the most use and benefit out of it?
What do you think about adding to what you're talking about? You mentioned Chat GPT and the others and so forth, but what the trend now and the verbiage now is, you don't have to write code, codeless integration. You just tell it what to do, which is what we're talking about. No code, right?
No code, low code, and AP, low code, no codes, and APIs. So
correct.
So there's a tier of development called low code, no code, and API. Low code is that you have some skill set in Python, Java, C++, C script, but you don't want to create the whole entire textbook of it. So much like your phone, where as it's auto-correcting and auto-filling, API and low code does the same type of thing. As you're typing along code, the AI is predicting what type of code you're going to be trying to do. The no code aspect is preset codes that you can drop and pull and then recreate with AI. I want a code where I can use a back page as a landing page that automatically fills into a call to action. So you give that the order and it will create that code. And the API is full blown, where it's a white canvas and you can just go ahead and paint whatever picture you want. So for those who don't know how to build code, it's a great way to start and develop your skill set.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when you use it, you learn about it. I mean, I've learned a lot just from using it and going through and building the things, because like you said, it's talking back to you. You're talking back to, it's basically, it's one of your best compadres, your employees, let's say. An assistant is what they're called in relevance, right? And they have different assistants, that can scrape things or do whatever. And that's what that code is written towards. And then you open it up and, like you said, customize it, teach it, make it go on. Construction. Okay. So Amy, you took me by surprise here. Did I miss some, I mean,
some of my background is in construction. Bills have got to get paid, and swinging a sledgehammer pays $33 an hour. So when you're starting a company and this thing costs, when we first started, we were running a bill on credit cards of about $10,000 a month to get everything running. So while on the construction site, I would have my notepad and I'd be writing the ideas down as we were going along during breaks. And one of the things that we would do too, is we were applying it to some of the stuff on the construction site, where we were using ChatGPT as a test subject in terms of taking pictures of job sites and then seeing what type of materials would best fit that type of environment. It got it right. It got it right about 60 of the time, because the concrete to mortar mix was never really what it's supposed to be from chat, because how many people in the construction and concrete side of things are adding stuff to ChatGPT? But we were playing with it, and this is where we learned, okay, this is where we can go along with that.
That is that is where everything is going along at that. And it's innovators like you that play around with things before they're really, they're not incorporated or even thought about. And then, hey, this kind of works. And now
I'll let your audience in on a little secret. I'm one of the testers for ChatGPT. So I've crashed their system 4 times.
Wow. How'd you do that?
So when we were running our projection models, when we first developed the board of directors to come on to the company and start helping us really grow, one of the very first things that they were asking us, because we're such new in this particular space, we're really the first ones here.
It's a new space.
It is. So we were doing
Yeah.
projection models. So we were creating the most complex black swan, red herring events. You know, God forbid we got into a civil war. We were running those type of calculations too on top of it. And ChatGPT couldn't keep up. It couldn't keep up with the analysis. So I got in touch with them, and my computer actually right now is running in the background the code, and they're recording all of our calculations to run to make the system better. That's how AI works. Is there no
Working itself behind the scenes? It's improving itself.
Yes. So
Yeah.
they're not using developers to do it. They're sending out the code where you patch it into your ChatGPT with people that are using it to its maximum capacity, and they're sending that code to people, and they're helping build the platform.
Yep.
So
That's
we broken it
now.
with stats and finance. We broke it because we were just basically throwing too many probabilities at it that it couldn't keep up. So we kind of broke it. So we've been writing back and forth on a weekly basis to chat on what we found, what we didn't find, some of our findings, the code. We're patching over code to them all the time on a continuous basis.
Wow. You're kind of like a bull in a china shop, huh?
Yeah, kind of.
On that approach, man. That was a good story. I like the way you put that. This is a good one, Chris. Chris Hannah's got a good question here. What advice would you give to a startup in the support space? So what do you've learned, you know?
All right. So the first thing that I would say is, what do you specialize in? What is something that you know better than anybody else? Because that's where your value comes from. So when you speak on it, now you're somebody that somebody can rely on. That's number one. Number two is you have to find out how you can do what you do in a profitable manner, right? So how long does it take you to set up and fix a problem? How much do you want to charge? So from that amount you want to charge to how much you make is your profit. So how quickly and how efficiently can you do what you do and make a profit out of it? Once you get that metric mark, now you can replicate it. And once you replicate it, you can refine it. And now you're starting to build momentum. So find out what you're good at, train yourself to be as efficient as possible at it, and then market it. Because that'll be the fastest way to everything's going to be in curves, right? Everything is ebbs and flows, but that is the fastest, most direct way to become successful in that space.
Yeah, and I don't think many people actually put that into account. You know, they have a knowledge base. They know what they have and like what they're doing, but they don't evaluate how long it takes and how much the market's going to bear, and that can be challenging. That could be running through mud for the first several years doing stuff like that. You already talked a little bit. Do you want to respond to that?
Oh, this one, the question right now on economic.
No. I saw you. You were getting ready to answer something as I started into that. Did you, a point?
My final point on top of that is once you've established those metrics, now the question becomes, do you want to take that risk? Because now your livelihood, and I don't say jump in all the way, ease into it like a weekend project, a side project, and get good at that and reputable. Because once your side income can now outpace your current income, now you've already set the pace for yourself.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's also not being afraid to go. Like that is also one of the biggest issues that I see with small businesses is you got a great idea, you're just afraid to try. Why not?
Yeah.
What's the worst that you're gonna lose? 6 months and a couple. If you've saved up the money, you're betting on yourself, and there's no better bet than betting on yourself.
Absolutely. Even though everybody around you may push you back, there is no better bet than yourself, and that's a great point.
How do you turn economic trends into business opportunities?
Bradley, my man.
All right, so I'll give you a free one. So we're talking about person-to-person interactions. So let's say in the state of New Jersey, right, we have a lot of construction sites, and a lot of guys don't have the labor right now, especially with what's going on, to not only do a job site, but there's a lot of equipment that doesn't get repaired. So if you're a guy that you could go over to, let's say, Harbor Freight and get a couple of cases of Red Wolf lubricant and a Milwaukee automated, battery operated grease gun, you could go from job site to job site per county and go, I'll grease every one of your machines for $100 and I can get it done in 2 hours. So you just made $100 off that job site, go down the street to another job site, and you do the same thing. You make a couple of bucks over a few weeks, you hire a buddy of yours, he has his car, you have your car, and now you split counties. And guess what? Now you're starting to make money as you go along. And all you're doing is just doing something that everybody needs to do. A skid steer, a backhoe, a bobcat. These things need to be greased every 2 weeks, depending on their usage, right? Nobody greases them. I hated greasing them. I hated doing it. Climbing in and under and all around the place, getting grease all over me, then using diesel to clean myself off. It's a crap job. But guess what?
Yes.
What pays every single time? Crap jobs.
Yeah. It's very easy to get an ROI easier on a crap job.
So to answer that question to Bradley more commonly, in a very easy way to do it is, if there is something that everybody hates doing, boom, there it is. There's your money.
Yeah, absolutely. And
there's your money.
And you can improve on that scale by being that push behind it. Bradley is a friend of mine. I told him when he started coming on, I said, I'd always give him a shout out. Bradley, great question, shout out. And you have a potential employee here. She's in the Carolinas, I think.
So, Miss Ronalda, if you're somebody that has the temperament and can not get overly confused or frustrated, or mostly have that ability to calm someone down and then pivot, we can teach you the standard operating procedure. That's not hard to do, because all you're doing is following a step-by-step instruction on how to solve a problem. We hired all the people to write the standard operating procedure. But what I can't teach is sympathy, empathy, and that sense of caring, because that's what you're doing. You're caring about this person. I can't teach that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's you either are or aren't that.
And the worst part is I was looking to do a promotion of 2 people. I was looking to promote these 2 people to then teach the next set. But the problem that we've been finding is that this generation that has been coming out, one, doesn't have the skill set, the temperament, and I don't mean to pick on them too much, but this sense of entitlement.
Oh God, yes. Yeah. That's the whole problem there.
I was being told that somebody wanted $55 an hour. I was like, are you an aluminum welder? Like, do you have your certification in underwater welding? Like 55 an hour. Now, listen, I get it. I absolutely get it. Inflation and everything else like that. The skill set that you possess is also where your value comes from. Because if you have a skill set that nobody else has, then yeah, you get to say whatever you want to say. But if you're valuing yourself based off of what you feel versus what you have and what you know, I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. You're out of school. You haven't proven anything to anybody. No, I know this is the pot calling the kettle black, because I did the same thing out of college. I thought I could burn down the world, and unfortunately, I got a reality check. And that's my problem with these kids, is nobody has decided to give these kids a reality check. We've coddled them. They've gotten participation trophies since they were 2. Everybody got a cookie and a pat on the head, and their feelings are as real as the pain that doesn't exist.
Oh, good way to put that.
Their feelings are as real as the pain that doesn't exist.
Yeah, that's a great. I'm gonna take that from you. I like that.
I've seen kids put their hand on the blade guard of a demo saw to start it. That's a piece of plastic, and this thing cuts through rebar.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. There's some stupidity there.
Oh,
You know what?
I've seen a kid cut rebar and catch himself on fire and didn't know that he was on fire. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Literally cut the rebar, quarter-inch pipe, and then he walked away. His pant was on fire, just walking. I can't make this up. I'm sorry, I can't.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Anita, thank you very much. She's loving this discussion. You've gotten quite a few fans here. We're over now, and we're still got over.
You can go down whatever rabbit hole you want to go down.
Well, let's stay on the rabbit hole of parenting, because I have a theory. We talked about these kids a couple times, and when my generation was being raised, we were raised differently. Be home by the time the street lights are on, and you're outside, you're doing your thing. But on top of it, when you did something wrong, you got crap from your parents. If the teachers, there was that involvement. Now it was also overboard. In a lot of cases, that's a different generation that grew up, post World War II kind of thing. And then the people who then had kids, I'm not going to be like that famous word. I'm not going to be like my parents were. And that's wishful thinking in some way. But now people are just coddling the shit out of people. And that's where that generation, you talked about, their own value has been built from participation trophies. That's a theory. And it goes back, and unfortunately, we're a society, and the pendulum always swings way too far, and where everybody should be right here.
I know this is going to stir the pot a little bit. The reason why the pendulum has swung so hard is because everybody cares about everybody else's business.
In other words, they don't want to look like, in other words, everybody cares about everybody's business. So I'm going to be the parents that don't have anything bad to say about my kids.
Let's take it to a real world example. Most of your audiences have children. How many times have you gone to a football, soccer game, baseball game, whatever game, and now you got a whole bunch of parents parenting you on how you parent your child?
Oh, that wouldn't go over well. Does that happen now?
Oh, there's plenty of people that have an opinion on how you raise your children.
I could see a riot going on in the stands with that going on.
But guess what? That's how it is. When you pick your kids up from school. Now we have all these people that have something to say about you're 5 minutes late, you're 10 minutes late, or whatever it might be. You have a school system that is getting heavily involved in the kids' lives.
That's a problem.
I mean, you can look at it many different ways you want, but my personal opinion is this. The education system is just that, the education system. Me as a parent, I'm not a parent, but if I am a parent, what happens in my house under my rules with my child is nobody else's business, because unless you're paying for that child, the lights, the food, the clothes, the taxes, you're taking them to school, this is not your child. This is my child. And if I have to compete with you on raising my child, then that's a problem.
That's a real problem. And I think it's going back now, but it really started to get to where teachers or the school systems, the administrators, maybe not the teachers, but there's this narrative around that your kids belong to us. We're raising.
There's a couple of easy fixes that we can do with this. There's a lot of easy fixes that we can do with this. Now, mind you, these are just my personal opinions. There's nothing to do with in terms of business wise. But if I was to look at a business and this is where Donald Trump, not to be political, but this is where Donald Trump made his pitch really in terms of government, looking at it like a business, which is not wrong, but there's a little bit more, there's a few more steps along the way. But I understand his premise. How do you get the best talent in the world? You pay them. because the best talent wants to go where the most money is. So what if next year, every teacher across the board from K through 12, standard from Mississippi, San Diego, New York City, Detroit down to Houston, makes $100,000 a year, base, 100,000, public school. But every 5 years, they have to take a standard aptitude test that all teachers have to take. And you have a minimum requirement that you have to pass in order to qualify to teach at that level. If you don't pass that, you're gone.
Yeah.
Guess what? Yeah. And you have no cap, which means that every 5 years, based on review, based off of scores, right? You get a PhD, you get a bump. You get a master's, you get a bump. You keep going up the level, you keep getting bumps. You're incentivizing. Teachers are coming up with new ways to teach. You're getting the best possible candidates to come and teach at schools. What do you think will happen over a course of, let's say, a decade, then maybe 2, 3? The problem that we have is we're looking at things in terms of fast solutions. This is not a fast solution. Nothing good. You know the old adage, you could have it fast, you could have it good, or you could have it cheap. You want it cheap and fast, it ain't going to be good. If you want it good, it ain't going to be cheap and fast. I'm sorry, you get to pick one. Yep. It's going to cost you 2, but you get to pick one. So guess what? If you want it good, it ain't going to be cheap and it ain't going to be fast. This is going to be a long process. But guess what? What other options do we have?
None. This country's in trouble. I mean, it really is, if you think about it. We're wasting so much, and there's so, this country is number 40 in the countries on education.
Yes, I know.
And we're 1.5 times per student higher than the rest of them combined in cost. That doesn't add up.
Yes, it does.
How? Why?
Think of it like building a car. You got a Jap racing box with a high gloss paint job, and it's got a V4 and a paint can as a tailpipe. Looks good, but it doesn't have any engine to it. It's got no power. We are the most powerful country on the face of the planet. We are a country that has never existed since the time of Alexander. And you're telling me that Jackson, Mississippi can't get textbooks? You're telling me Wichita, Illinois can't get a computer system, can't get computers for their classrooms? But yet we can build autonomous flying bomber drones at what, $1 billion a piece? Listen, I'm not saying that our armed forces shouldn't be armed. I'm not saying that whatsoever. But if we're talking about business and we're talking about priorities, I think we need to have a sit down and look at what do we as a society, as an American people, which is what voting is, we get to decide what we think is more important right very now. And as much as I love this country, and I am an American through and through, I don't give a fuck about what color wallpaper you want to choose when the house is on fire. Yeah. We've got 4 million homes that are not being built. We have 12 million Americans that are without homes. We have an entire generation of 30-year-olds that have no jobs, no place to live, no ambition. I'm sorry, but those other things are not as important as the house fire that we have right now. Yeah. And we have estimated somewhere in the neighborhood of about 7 to about 11 million American kids from that 20 to 25 demographic that graduated that have no use to society whatsoever besides being TikTokers, YouTubers, and influencers. Great. Like, we need 12 million more of these people.
Right. Yeah. Because they can shake their body. That's the value.
Yet last quarter, 15,000 truckers with CDL licenses, CDLAs, got graduated last quarter. 15,000. We're about, what, 2 million truckers short?
Yes. And we're actually fighting against some of that stuff governmentally. Like, I'm California when those truckers were out because they didn't have EV vehicles. There's this, the house, you said it, the house is on fire. The wallpaper doesn't matter. Get the freaking truckers in their trucks and
how about this? How about the U.S. government offer 5 million open spots for truckers, free enrollment, CDL, 6-week course, free You're an American citizen. You can prove that you're an American citizen. You're over the age of 21, clean driving record, no drugs, no felonies, no nothing. You get a free 6-week SDLA course, CDLA course. Sign up on U.S. government top jobs, the U.S. Labor Department, U.S. Trucking Department. You sign up, you get qualified, you get a voucher, you go to your local New Jersey DMV, set up your class, and it rolls every 3 weeks. Every 3 weeks is a brand new class. Now you got a streamline of truckers coming out. And what, 68 cents, 56 cents a mile? With some of them offering $5,000 sign-up bonuses.
Mm-hmm.
You don't owe the government another thing, but you're guaranteed to work for at least a year, 2 years at your company. You're telling me that a trucking company wouldn't sign up with the U.S. government for that? I have guaranteed truckers coming in I have a class coming in every month to run my operation, that they're licensed, they're insured, and the U.S. government trained them. Please.
Yeah.
That's an easy fix.
Yeah. Why aren't we doing it?
Well,
what do you think?
Hey, Elon, if you're watching this, or hey, guys in the White House, if you're watching this, believe it or not, your American people have good ideas. You just need to listen to us.
Yeah. What about the last 4 years, though? I mean, that's when all the truckers got dumped. They've just been in here, a couple months.
Get them reprogrammed. Sign them back up. Get them through a program. Maybe they're 5 years. Well, maybe they're 10-year veterans. What? They can't be instructors? How are you going to teach all these kids that are coming through? Make them instructors.
Yeah.
What is that? A 5-week course? An instructor course is maybe what? 5-6 weeks?
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah.
And
we need the vets to be productive. They want to be productive.
All right. And this is a personal one. This one's personal to me. Someone very close to me came home from Iraq and eventually took themselves. And one of the things that they said before, a few weeks before it happened, was they didn't feel normal. They didn't feel right at home.
Didn't feel anything, probably. Yeah.
This is my personal belief and my personal feelings, and if anybody is offended, I apologize. We do an amazing job in making Marines. We make a hell of a soldier.
My dad was a Marine.
These boys are coming home. These kids went 13 weeks at Paris Island or went off to San Diego. They went 13 weeks at Paris Island. Then they do another couple more at their specialty school. Then they do a couple of more in real live combat training. These kids get back on a Sea Glober, step off the tarmac, and we hand them like, there you go. You just train these people for 4 years to be a certain way, and then you just let them go. You got to bring these people down. You got to calm these people off. You got a cool off period. The fact that we bring our boys and women home and they have no cool off period, what do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen? They spent 4 years, 2, 3, 6 tours, and they come back and you expect them to just fit? No, these people need at least a couple of months to cool down. Then we can bring them back. After they get out, like, what do you think? Because they have a chance to think about what they want to do next. I don't have to do this anymore. What do I want to do? Maybe I like art. Maybe I like music. Maybe I want to see the world. Maybe I want to travel. I can go and re-enlist, or I can go ahead and do an oil rig and spend 6 months by myself out on the oil rig, whatever it might be. And I'm just throwing generalizations out there. Is that if we were to do that too, right? Let's say in San Diego, and let's say we have 3 centers. We have the middle of the East, Michigan. We have California, and we have, let's say, Connecticut, New Hampshire as rehabilitation centers. How many doctors, how many nurses, how many practitioners, how many staff, how many construction workers, how many people could we put to work on a continuous basis building, maintaining, and operating cool down facilities for our military? We've got how many bases in this country? How many active military? 700,000? 300,000? Somewhere between there?
It's 350, I think, right now is the number. Right now.
So we have 350 boots laced up, ready to go. How many people can we
And
have
There's
coming?
more coming in. There's
I
a
know.
lot more coming in.
But guess what? The ones coming out, what do? But guess what? Now you have that constant flow. You have the guys coming in, you have the people coming out. You have the training, and then you have the de-escalation, which could be 6 months. So that group that comes into a de-escalation center is 4 months, is 6 months. So doctors, nurses, staff, everybody has transition time. So guess what? Truckers and welders and mechanics and anything else we can think of that has at, let's say, month 3, right? Months 1, 2, and 3 is psychological and physical cool down periods. Then 4, 5, and 6 is reintroduction periods where we're doing new education programs, where we're doing technology, where we're doing mechanics, where we're doing engineering, whatever it might be. Hell, baking, I don't care. But you now have a timeline where we have this runway for people to come back into society. And we're also putting people back to work, not only in the facilities and building new facilities, but we have these workers who are now retrained and repurposed. Isn't that one of the biggest problems for veterans is they're coming home and they have no sense of purpose? What do I do now?
Yeah, that's part of the problem. Absolutely. Yeah.
We just took that right off the table. We just killed 3 birds with 1 stone: housing, project, and de-escalation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm grateful for this live session. Thank you, Mr. Valino. Before that was Live and Loaded with Insights. And then oh wow, okay, there's no questions right now. Sorry, I was looking for a question. Turning and Loving the Straight Talk. Turning in and Loving the Straight Talk. Great show, learning so much. And then Ronaldo had an answer to your earlier comment.
I have the pages for the show. Well, that's good to know. I'll put you in touch with our when we're done with this, we'll set something up, and I'll put you in touch with our project manager, who we can go ahead and have that discussion and put that through the process.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I always like to do, because there's a couple hundred people on here now, and as veritably it happened over the next couple of months, there'll be hundreds and whatever numbers more that watch it replay. They make comments. Hey, how do I find this? Andrew was talking about, or let's say Ronaldo was Andrew was talking about this. Leave your contact information. You can only put it in private chat. I don't know why, but I can copy and paste it over.
Oh no! So you can go to the website at www.techrescue.io, and you can call us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at 855-250-8586, and we'll put it up on I'm sure we'll put it on display and everywhere else, as the show goes up on YouTube and everywhere else.
Yeah, this show right now is currently streaming to
live.
We're live. Going to LinkedIn, YouTube, and X, Twitter.
Yeah.
That's typically where we stream out. We're going to look at Kick It here in a little bit, because there's another direct with StreamYard. But anyway, but we always record. I mean, when it's placed, it's there. It's digitally, right? So people always go to our channel. We get probably 15,000 views a month, and so there's a resource there for them. But when they ask me, like on the comments, unless you're checking it, when they ask me a question on, some of the technology we're talking about, or the job opportunities that you're looking to fulfill, I'm not the expert. You are. That's why you're here. And so I pass them on to you, right?
I wouldn't.
We could write that down too.
I wouldn't. I don't like the word expert. I know our field, and I know our competition, and I know what works and what doesn't work. I mean, we're competing with 2 of the big boys, and I don't want to brag too much, but I got plenty of smoke for the 2 of them, and they can't compete with us. And we're a small player, and they're a large organization. One of my biggest things is that I had to call our insurance company that, we utilize, and I was on hold for about 40 minutes, and I was, yelling at the chatbot, and I'm like, you're a company of billions of dollars,
Yeah.
billions with a B.
Yeah.
I can't get somebody on the phone, which is also, by the way, for anybody out there that's frustrated, you're not crazy. Companies like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, and all of them, they purposely change the settings on your phone and move them so you don't know where they are, so we can keep collecting data on you. Because on our YouTube channel, we have a video of me helping out my dad. And one of the things that if you ever have your phone blowing up all the time with messages and notifications, you're like, didn't I just set this? You did. But once they change it, it refalls to the settings, because what Facebook is nothing more than a marketing platform. All the information, everything that you have, right? Your Facebook photos, your videos, the information that you provide, those are data points. Are you old? Are you young? Are you rich? Are you white? Are you black? Are you Asian? Where do you live? What do you drive? Because everybody takes pictures of everything. The computer can read images. So as that information is being collected, that's being fed to whoever subscribes to those data point, those extraction points. Where do you think those private messages come from? Or when you say, I really could go on a vacation, you open up YouTube, and the first thing that pops up is a trip to the Maldives. It's listening and watching to everything that you do. So the reason why you can't get these things off your phone is because they constantly change the settings on you. You're not crazy. You're not crazy. You do it all the time. Okay. We have a video of me doing it with my father. Because guess what? If you turn off the settings, they can no longer capture your data.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Wow, that's some great insights that we've had here. It's been a great show. I really appreciate bringing this. We got to do another rollout. We never got into that damn mom story. We'll save that.
All right. So all right, let's no, we can cover that real fast. So
all right.
My mother is an Irish Catholic woman born on 23rd Street in Astoria, Queens. She was a belt, spoon, spatula, and frying pan type of mother. Definitely my first set of concussions were from the frying pan. Yeah. Oh, wow. She's tough as nails. She's bailed me out of jail more times than I ever wanted to admit to. The sound of her heels still gives me PTSD from being in high school.
I bet your coach back there, and I bet you that coach would fear the sound of her.
He did. He did. So
tell him the story.
So one night, my wrestling coach at the time was chewing us out a little bit, and I guess you could say like the sound of his own voice. And I think it was like a Wednesday night. It was like 9:15 at night, and all of a sudden, I just hear like this click clack coming down the hallway. And I have like this gut feeling. I'm like, no, that's not it. And all of a sudden I hear the heels on the stairs, the concrete stairs going up to the locker room. And as soon as I heard that switch, that sound where a heel hits the floor and turns and pivots, that sharp, crisp turn that only can be done by a Marine's daughter, I went, oh, fuck. That was the words out of my mouth. And all of a sudden I could hear it coming down the hallway. And I went 5, 4, 3, 2, and there she is, my mother with her purse in hand, coat on, and she just looked at me and she snapped her fingers and she said, "Car now." And I got up and my coach was like, "Where are you going?" And she just looked at him and she was like, "Do you want some?" Just looked at him dead in the eye and she said, "Do you want some?" And I was like, and she looked at me and she goes, "I said car." I went, "Yes, ma'am." And I left. I got made fun of at school the next day, but you know what?
Sure, of course.
Listen,
but you know what? Moms like that kick ass.
Hey, listen, that frying pan moves faster than a lot of people think. Listen, I'll take on my whole team. My mother with a frying pan is a scary match.
Yeah, no doubt. That's not fair. That is
so believe it or not, this woman is the CFO of the company.
Well, that's a good strength.
So my mother's background is a double doctorate in science and health science and clinical research. So her background is CRMs for one of the large pharmaceuticals. So when we started getting into a lot of the medical aspect, I relied heavily on her expertise. And she was one of the ones that helped write the standard operating procedures for the medical aspect. And one of the things that we got made, I got teased on a little bit, is we're a fast growing successful company, and my mom gives me an allowance. I wish I listen. I wish I could make this up, but you know what? I've learned my lessons the hard way.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother, who agreed to join me on this, goes on one condition. I said, "What's that?" She goes, "You don't touch the money." I went, "Okay."
That's a good thing. At least for me. Barbie and I had that agreement.
So, I looked at it this way. If there's anybody in the world that has your back more than mom, I don't know who is.
First love. That's your first love.
So she makes sure that, so for her, and I agree, and we agreed, is that anything more than what you really need is just showing off. So any of our major profits that we've made in these past quarters, we're donating to the Boys and Girls Club of America. She's a big advocate of the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts of America. She's a big advocate of it's the music one for children. I think it's out of St. Louis. She's a big proponent of music for the children.
Yeah, it's important. Absolutely.
It creates, it stimulates creativity. She's really big on that. And, one of the things that I think that she gets out of the company is that what we're doing is, because it's so needed, we've been as successful as we are. She's been a proponent of making sure that we just keep adding more to the value of what we're seeing in giving back. Yeah. So one of the questions that we got asked earlier is that, like, what we can do is that instead of chasing alpha, right, chasing capital or capital acquisition, is that have your number in your head, which we do, and then anything else after that, if you're not really, look at the $500 million yacht kind of theory to it. What do you need if, it's nice to have, don't get me wrong, but, and I think that's why we've been as successful as we are, is because we're taking that stance of what we don't need, especially for our people. Our people are covered. So none of our employees have to worry for at least 7 months. We have plenty to make sure that everybody's good in downtimes. So after that, what really more do we need? We can invest more in our PR. We can invest more in our marketing. We can invest more in our sales, which then does what? Adds more. At a certain point, then we're just collecting money, and I don't know, maybe we're naive. Maybe we're a little bit too, I don't want to say hippie-ish, but if we were to look at side-by-side comparison, what we've done over the past 50 years in terms of capital acquisition, right? So when we created debt notes that companies could then purchase back their credit, flip it onto bonds, and then sell it into the market to create higher quarterly returns, right? Companies started trading their own stock. Yes, we had astronomical quarters from the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, but what did it also do? We focused mostly on capital acquisition, optimization. We sent jobs overseas. Now we're having that problem. The chickens are coming home to roost.
I think, and that's another positive. I think we're going to see a lot more of that happening. Hey, I've got something coming up. I got to get ready for, my friend. This has been exhilarating. We usually only go an hour. I told you we'd be going longer than an hour here. We might make an hour 50 actually. So final thought, Wave, what's up? Are you there?
Who?
Okay. You do very well at standing still. I didn't know if your screen was frozen.
No. If there's anything that we could probably end on is the fact that there's a lot of good that still can be done just by doing the simplest things like what we're doing, right? So
Yep.
our business model, yes, is a technology helpline, but really at the end of the day, what we're doing is we're making somebody's day a little bit better. So if somebody's calling us, they're frustrated, they're angry, they're confused, they're desperate, and then at the end of the call, they're relieved. We just made their day a little bit better. We took the fire off the table. We put out a fire. Now, that may not be a lot, but let's say you've had a day, and this is the last thing on the list that really is going to set the whole thing into a tailspin. Well, if I can get one thing for you done without the world catching on fire, then we did a good deed. And I know it sounds so cliche, but I think in today's modern times, I don't know where else to go with this, but there's nothing wrong with doing a little bit good every day. And if we all could just do just a little bit, I know it sounds so cliche, but once again, look at what's been done. Look at what's been going on. Do you like the way that this is going? Do you like the way that we are living? Honestly, I don't think we are anywhere near as racist as what people are saying we are, because otherwise kids wouldn't be wearing NFL jerseys.
It's the media. Yeah.
I mean, in all honesty, if we were as racist as they all make it seem, what demographic would not be wearing baseball, basketball, and football jerseys? I don't see any problem with the kids walking around the neighborhood wearing Tennessee Titan jerseys, Dallas Cowboy jerseys, Washington Redskin jerseys with everybody else's name on them. Because if you were really that bad, if we were really those people, do you think we'd be letting the children wear that? No.
No.
So the argument that I would make is that if you don't like what's going on and you don't like what you're seeing, what are you doing about it?
That's the whole key.
And what we're doing is a small thing by just picking up the phone saying, how can we help you?
Yeah.
Are we making a little bit of money out of it? Yes. But at the end of the day, the money isn't the biggest thing for us. Is the fact that we're doing a little bit better for other people. And if that gives us some money in our pocket, fantastic. We can do more good with that. Because I know it sounds so stupid, but if the world burns down, what good is money?
Yeah. Excellent point. And Andrew, thank you for everything. Give everybody a big wave, and we'll let's stay in touch, man. I want to circle back around to some things.
Of course.
All right. See you, man.
Thank you for having us.
You bet. All right. So that was awesome, man. And like he said, couple of things there. I mean, we kind of really covered some interesting topics surrounding what he's talking about. And at the end there, he was talking about making an excellent point of how we should be doing something nice or good for the world every day. And there's a thing to that. We have a lot of different subjects, so I get to hear a lot of different directions of different subjects, and it's a very, honestly, it's a really amazing experience, because living through this, I get to hear so much more that I never knew before. And one of those things that we talk about is say hi to somebody, create a better relationship around your area, so that when people walk into your world, it's a better improvement than they came from. We're here, we're a social society, right? We have to interact and we have to do these things. The last number of years has been pretty devastating in the way things, I mean, we were it started with closing off with masks that didn't do shit thing. But anyway, and box by box by box. And what Andrew was just talking about, we're not as racist as people say. Well, it's the media saying that, and it's certain politicians saying that, because it's an ability to control. When you divide and conquer, you're you're managing 8 billion people on this earth are managed by 100 families. Let that sit. I'm not going to explain it because ask me about it later, because there's a need for us to be communicating more and talking about the race thing. If I've got Andrew's lives in a place in his house, his family is whatever, and then down the street there's this generation of person that a heritage of person. We are a country of immigrants. I mean, legally, over 1 million immigrants come to this country every year through the legal process. And so there's a range of philosophy and interest and backgrounds in every neighborhood. I look down my neighborhood street, and the thing the bottom line is, Joe and Dora have 3 kids. Jamal and Dora's sister has, I don't know, 2 or 3 kids. All of us are dealing with the same issues. The middle class is beat on, literally. It's the backbone of America. You talked a lot about construction, the industry that built this country. And yes, we need leaders for vision. Like Andrew, a leader, his mom. But the people that support those companies, like he said, they're extremely valuable. You've got to be making somebody's life better. So when these people, when they're told that we're different because the color of our skin, or I'm a male, toxic male, or this or that, that is nothing but a reason and a skill set to divide a community that was very growing stronger and stronger, coming together. When it's the country that the wealthiest, the healthiest, is when we have uniting people, bringing all sides together. And that's how this country works. Part of what Andrew was talking about there in the beginning, especially, was that we're the most powerful, richest country in the world. And throughout history, there's nothing that's been ever built. One thing we are not taking advantage of, though, is our founding fathers. They were all elites. They were all from high society, extremely wealthy people, extremely accomplished. But they came together, and they came from a place that they said the people should be making the decisions in our country. So we can't have a democracy, because what if 50% of the people, what if there's a racist nation and everybody does it? So we have a democratic republic that was formed to be able to give everybody equal power representation. We're not taking advantage of that, and we're getting run over time after time after time. And it's money going out the door that's coming out of my pocket and Andrew's pocket and your pocket. We need to take control over that like a business. We need to be able to be functioning with the head of the company, has to be on the same page. And in this case, we hire them. Literally, we hire them. And that job review that Andrew was talking about, that ChatGPT can give you those kind of reviews and standard operations. And, all that's beautiful. But we need to be able, especially now as we're rolling into this new wave of world, we need to be able to have more say in the lives of the people who are going to be most affected by this. So this wave of automation, Andrews has a purpose. The business has a purpose. Like he said, they're very successful because they're filling a big need that's there. Well, that need is coming and coming and coming and coming. And at the end of the day, are you going to survive it, or are you going to thrive in it? This is an aspect of we're on the edge of a precipice. Did I say that right? Precipice. There you go. I knew there was something wrong there. I'm about ready to lose my chair here. You see me kind of nervous about it. It keeps popping. So at the end of the day, I appreciate you guys being here. Some really good friends of ours, and they're sticking on, I'm sure, have stayed and support us, loving the questions. It's finally a time now, at least, the elites have a lot more access to information, wealth and power and all that, on different things that we just don't have access to, being, that we struggle day in and day out. And now we have access to things like what I never knew that was a thing. I mean, it makes sense. It's a market that, what do you say, 30%, 20% of the people might just be isolated from the economy, from the country. And, then you're talking about stress on the economy. And then that other, I think it was 20% of kids that add no value to the economy. So now we got big numbers of people that are drawing from the economy, but not adding to the economy. Social Security on steroids kind of thing. And then on top of that, we had, what was it last year? 4 million illegal. There's a lot of other people building on that system. So what's going to happen? That's a stress coming in. And I think that's why there's some urgency about getting rid of the waste and, the $1 billion budgets that they don't know where that money went to. I mean, I saw that she's no longer there, but answering questions about, and this was Bill Maher. He's like, look, I got to be serious here. There is a certain amount of money. You guys just had an audit. There was several $1 billion that your answer was, I don't know where. We're not quite sure where it is. We're trying. Seriously, that's $1 billion of your money. That's not their money. But the politicians keep that stuff going. Why? Their pockets. I mean, let's face it. We have people coming into politics that are, they get paid a couple $120 a year, and this and that, some features and stuff. They also get $42,000 of office furniture as a stipend, as a thing that they're allowed to spend that much. In Tennessee, that's not even the average income for an American in that level, in that point. $43,000 for your office. Let's talk waste. Let's talk a little waste here. And then you're making more than a percentage of people making the year. I think the average income is $56,000 a year. So there's a scale here that needs to be kind of worked out. And no matter what your politics are, that doesn't matter. There's a need. There's a lot of things happening now. And all of a sudden, we can get confused and frustrated and like he said, just kind of give it up, but we need help. We need these support systems. And so keep coming back to Insights and Straight Talk with your host. I'm Rod Duff, always alongside producer Barbie. And with that, I'm out.
Before you leave, if you'd like to watch another one of the podcasts, click the first link in the description. We love having you here and we appreciate all your support.
And with that, producer Barbie and I are out.